We could do a cold open. We could just keep talking about our 90s Michael Jordan war stories if you'd like.
The amount of times I've gone into that
We're the
arena
same-
at that one
we're about
spot.
the same age.
Yeah, right in that one spot and just been like, I don't know.
Well, you didn't make the password Jordan pushed off for nothing. Why don't you tell us about it?
No, I think it was deeper than that. Like, I think we've isolated way too much on one play. We still had another game to win.
That's the way the game was played back then, though.
Yeah.
Surrounding
so
you with
different.
mid-range jumpers.
I was just with Carl and John, obviously, but like, we did the math, Mike, what was it? How many games did they miss in their entire career? 62 combined?
Yeah, and
Some of that was with the Lakers.
Charles were for suspensions.
Yeah,
Not
yeah. So
John's were only because he had one injury.
how many did John miss? 12 games?
I don't remember exactly, but he only
It'll
missed
fall off.
2 outside.
It's just wrestling against this. Now it's free.
Okay, cool.
That for a total of like 36 years.
Right.
36 years, and it was like sub 30 games missed. And by the way, they didn't call push-offs or anything else back then.
Not in that moment.
Like, that's nuts. Like they were telling a story where Carl, like, in a preseason game, like, had his finger pulled all the way back and he pulled it back in. And a preseason game and went back in. Or like, DA always talks about Larry Bird. Like, they had like, back then they had like 7 preseason games and they're like, hey, we're going to sit you. He's like, nope, I'm playing 40 minutes in all of them.
I came prepared with questions and everything. I feel like I'm not even going to use this
Let's
today.
go, bro.
I'm getting some one-man show here
Yeah,
other
yeah,
than, our,
yeah.
than our tech help.
In
I'm getting
another
it
hour,
live to
we'll
the
be
world.
ready to go.
All right. See what I got to deal with here. Usually it's them yelling at me.
No.
Now I got Ryan yelling at me.
I stole this out
A
of
little
the,
different pressure here.
I don't know whose it is, but it was in the back room
see that?
yesterday.
Isn't that brilliant?
Let's go.
All right.
All right, greeting, we're up. Greeting with a D.
It's a typo. All right, let's tweet this out to the world, shall we?
On the main or a burner?
You know what? Might have to do both. Might have to do both.
Don't expose
I'm getting a
your
little
burner.
frisky. So I first,
You started with a burner, right?
I mean, I technically am a burner. Like the main was a burner originally. That just
Yeah, yeah,
evolved
yeah,
into
yeah,
this.
Yeah. We don't have those in my role.
Burner before, like who? Kevin Durant's the original burner guy, right? Did we even burner?
Bro, you're getting blown up already for not having a jazz jacket on. Like, this is the
I
moment.
see what I got to deal with.
Yeah, you're going to have to deal with it. Like,
I brought one with me.
you
I
did?
didn't want to wear the mountain jacket because that'd be like too obvious that I'm
Yeah, all right.
sucking up to you.
No, you're not sucking up to me. All right. It's good. I like it.
Okay.
You just
I'm
came
one-
with the full salt in the wound with that outfit.
I totally forgot that I was wearing Jordan in a Utah place.
It's all right. No,
fun.
I'm a big MJ fan. It's his 60th birthday this weekend. That's why he's not here.
Okay, now we're live
Tell
to the
us about
world.
the No Name Saloon.
Oh, bro, they're on their feet.
Let,
Are we going this weekend?
I will
We
be
should
there on
have done
Monday.
it there.
Yeah.
We could have.
It
I
just-
tried. I've been setting this up for like a month
Yeah.
to like make this happen.
Could you
in this-
imagine being at the No Name Saloon?
I would love it.
Hey, there's still
I know,
like
Wednesday?
5 more days.
I bet it's packed right now because it's such a nice day. People coming off the
Oh, bro,
slopes.
they're on their feet.
When there was a game on last night, they were on their feet at the No Name Saloon. We're coming back without Lowry, almost won that game.
Oh, bro.
I would have been on my feet. Well, I was up there when Utah was playing, and I was here over the summer, end of the summer, just doing a hiking trip, and the place was like packed. I didn't expect Main Street on Park City to be that lively, and they got a new fan in me. So
No Name Saloon, I love it.
and I feel like you only know about the No Name Saloon if you're from here. If you've
we
been to Park
should-
City, it's like my little
we
bit
should-
for Utah.
We should take a spot in the arena and have like the No Name Saloon down in the arena. Let them build out a spot. That'd be great.
Little,
Why not?
well, yeah, we're gonna talk about branding here in a second, but
Okay.
get the No
Can't
Name
wait.
a little takeaway. a little bit of to-go drinks from the No Name Saloon might be a good way to do this. So
Let's go.
all right, well, we're live to the world. I was vamping there as I always do for a couple of minutes. We always like to say we can sleep when we're dead, but for now, we will talk hoop. But I have not been to bed. Some people here in the audience here, those of you watching across the world, welcome. We got Ryan Smith, governor, chairman. How many titles do you get with this job?
I do everything. I move the boxes around here.
I
don't know.
That's actually,
the titles are. I mean, titles are a thing of the league. Like, I mean, I'm coming from tech where we got rid of titles. You just work.
Just do the work.
Just do the work.
Do the work. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. Do the Work is for the
yeah.
Utah Jazz is here with us, and we're very thankful for his time. We are coming to you from what they're seeing online right now. By the way, it looks like we're in an interrogation room just with a white wall, but they don't see what we can see with an entire audience here.
Yeah.
But
it's good.
we're talking about, so let's use that as a segue to be our opening topic here with branding, as we have no
We're
branding
coming in
behind.
hot.
Yeah. So I was going to lead off with questions about All-Star Weekend. We're going to get there in a second, but Ryan just took me on a tour of the practice facility in the back where there is, as you would imagine, gear, jerseys, shoes, former players, new players, but ultimately the conversation gravitates to the new Jazz brand. And how do I put this politely? Because I don't want to act like I'm saying something different in front of him than I do, normally on the stream.
Why would you?
Well, I've been critical of the highlighter jerseys many times because I think the Jazz had. I'm a '90s snob, as I told you. Thanks. What is that supposed to mean? I look like I'm from 1997 because
I think Ron Harper wore that in the finals. Sorry, Ron.
Okay, one for one.
All right.
I'm used to it by now.
Okay,
Usually it's just over the phone that this happens, not in
no.
real life. But so where were we? Oh, branding. I've been critical of the highlighter jerseys, and because I loved the former branding of the Jazz franchise with the mountains and the purple, but without spoiling things that are in the works, what I see in the next couple of years coming for the Jazz is going to make a lot of people that may or may not have been critical about some of the jerseys and the apparel and what your franchise represents from the city. We know the NBA is trying to do city jerseys, right? Can I give an example real quick? The Orlando Magic also have beautiful jerseys, beautiful branding. They went with the orange ray trim to represent Orange County, Florida, which makes sense because they're in Orange County. That doesn't make it good or look right. I'm sorry, and I told someone at the Magic, I'm like, I get it, it makes sense. You can tell that story, but it just doesn't look good. And guess what they're not wearing anymore? The orange.
Because of your comment.
No, not because, but my point is that you have this vision of what the Jazz, this is going to be more of I'm looking for a big scope answer from you.
Yeah.
The branding of the Jazz, what it represents with the city. Since you have taken over, it feels like you are trying to encompass the culture of Utah as a whole into this team. I'm trying not to spoil what you have planned.
No, look, first of all, the branding's an evolution. Like, if you looked at Rudy Gobert and I was looking at his jerseys just in the 8 years, and I think I showed you, there's 9 different color schemes, which is fine, but we have 5 jerseys next year, right? And I think we've let out. We've got 2 purple jerseys coming, and then our current setup, and then in 24, we have a lot of optionality is kind of how we play out of that. But with Nike coming in the NBA and that contract, there's a lot of new jerseys. We might be in a situation 2 years from now where we've got earned jerseys. It's our 50th anniversary next year, so we have that. But I think the biggest thing is it is a journey, and we knew that coming in, we would be making it. We heard all the feedback, and we're making tweaks. The one thing we have done is, being a Qualtrics guy, we went out and got a bunch of fan feedback. I mean, we got 3,000 or 4,000 of our fans who are attending games, who are looking at merch, and the data is obviously different than social media. I know that's hard to believe, but the real data of our fan base is a little bit unique, and we're making tweaks, and I think people will be super happy in 24.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a teaser for you. There's something to look forward to here in a couple years.
But the one thing I will also say is we have 2 unique things with the Jazz. We have the mountains, obviously, which is incredible. And if you walk out, we were having that conversation, like everyone is coming to All-Star, they look out, it's mind-blowing to be able to sit here on a clear day and see Utah. And they're close. You know, I've been to a lot of cities that have mountains, and it's like, okay, 40 minutes away, are you there? No, we have like 7 ski resorts within 25 minutes of downtown, which is pretty crazy. World-class resorts. And then the next is the note. And if you actually just take the logo without words of most NBA teams, like the note is one of the closest things to a swoosh that exists, or a symbol like that, which is what every brand's going after. It's just like to be able to put a symbol up and everyone knows what it is. And you know, and you'll see that, right, on my hat. Like that note plays, and so how do we use the note more and bring that into our brand? And that's one of the things that we like.
So the note, the mountains, things that are unique, look forward to. Now, let's go to present day, because it's All-Star Weekend. Do you feel like that you are responsible for throwing the best party that Utah has ever seen? Because it's been since, what, 93? I think last time you had an All-Star game. Do you, whether it's other chairmen, other owners, the players, some of the celebrities that you're going to have here that you're hosting, is there pressure on you personally to deliver this weekend and change impressions about Utah, whether they have them good or bad? Is that on you right now?
So I would say as an organization, like we're hosting, right? And there's a lot of people who have put a lot of time into this, probably more than normal. We've had a great running start. And I couldn't be more proud of the work that people are doing to get things ready. And it's stuff like including working with our city and our government. Like we started a free bus route with like 9 stops just for this event that's curated so that, you know, every All-Star game I've been to, you can't get an Uber. Like no matter what the city is, go to the Super Bowl, try to get an Uber, it's a mess. So like we've got free buses that are going around even from the airport. And but yeah, I don't look at it as pressure. I look at it as opportunity and responsibility. Like this is what we signed up for, and that's exciting. Like if you're not, I mean, you can look at it and say, whoa, that's everyone's coming into town. You know, I was just telling the group, I think we had 500 of the black SUVs or cars to transport people, and we just had to get another 400 from the Super Bowl, right? Because that's the demand that's coming, and so. We look at it as opportunity. I think it's fun. I think a lot of times those who know Utah, and it's a unique spot, and it's freaking awesome, right? Like especially in a world where I think wellness is at a premium. Like this is a place for wellness. I always tell our guys this should be the happiest place of your career because you can get locked in, but you can also be at peace. They live in a crazy world, a social world. Like this is the chance where you can actually do business and work. I think we have 230 straight sellouts of our arena. Mm-hmm. Like the fans show up. They show up at every. I mean, look at this, right? Look at the group here. So it's a unique spot, and we are basketball state. When you look at jam session and everything that we're doing here, that was really important to me that we brought that back. Like that's where I went as a kid. That was my only All-Star experience, and we have like it's like carnival games. It's like almost like a convention of basketball going on next to the arena, which I hope everyone comes and checks out.
When we spoke over Zoom originally, you told me, that was one of the first things you said, that Utah, you kind of want to sell it as being the health hub of the United States in a way because of the setting. It's serene. Just Utah in general, people come see it. It seems to change their minds. And I'm not going to name names unless you feel it's appropriate to, but some, whether it's celebrities or players that either sign here, get traded here, when they step foot, all of a sudden they're like, you weren't kidding. And then they stay. And who was shooting in the gym before we started this show. Again, not to name names, but they stick around. All right, there's certain players, there's a reason why, I think, and just there needs to be almost an education out there as opposed to, I don't know, what people on Twitter, think that the common jokes are regarding the state, the franchise, or the city itself.
And like, I mean, it's you kind of need to be here with all things. And no franchise is going to bat 1,000 with players, but I think like if we look at our history and where people are with the Jazz, I'm pretty proud of it. I mean, the Millers have done a great job, and we're really leaning into bringing, like we have this saying, once a jazz man, always a jazz man. Like, we want that to be part of who it is. And when they look back, like D. Will, I'll even say it, like D. Will, he came in and he's like, dude, I don't have any jazz gear. All I got's the Adidas stuff. I took him back in the
You're
room.
underselling it. He was saying when he landed at the airport, while he's getting shots up out there, like what he has planned this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone knows that D. Will still lives in Salt Lake, but he's very passionate about it, to say the least. So I thought that was interesting, and it just goes against.
You probably wouldn't see that because it was like he played in Dallas, he played in New Jersey, like at the time, like you look at it, and a bunch of other people in the league are also buying houses out here. I've had 3 or 4 all-star players come and say, hey, where should I live? This is where I'm going to be in the summer. That you wouldn't think. And so, like right now, and at any time, like 30 minutes up the road, and that's, in LA, that's what you got to do to get to the grocery store. But for us, like 30 minutes up the road is where, people are spending their summer. I mean, Jay was a great example of that. And that's what Utah really is. But forever people have been doing that. The difference now is the tech boom. So we've had a tech renaissance where our tech infrastructure that has been built and something we call Silicon Slopes, it's a top 3 tech hub now, as so many people have left San Francisco, and you look at Austin and Utah. I mean, we had more IPOs in 2018 in Utah than San Francisco or New York City. We have more venture funding than any other group outside of San Francisco. And so when you put that in, it's like people are going, wait a minute, I can live here now? I used to come here to ski, I used to come here to do these things, but I can live here and work? And then you combine that with a pandemic where remote work has become a thing. It's all kind of playing into the Utah thing. And people call it a small market, right? Hey, you're a small market. But the way they classify small markets is primarily around household television. Well, we're never going to be a large market with that metric because people are leaving the city to get a house with a yard and a dog and a pool. That's why they're coming here. So that doesn't make sense. It's not like the urban living or what I would say is like the super city that's people are leaving. They're coming to Utah for something different. That being said, we don't have any of the qualities of a small market. Like our economy, if you look at unemployment, if you look at like the Delta just put $3 billion into the airport, you can get on a plane and go anywhere in the world. Like look at small markets in the league, like that's not how it looks. You look at 7 million skiers a year plus a national park, like this isn't a small market outside of that one metric. I would argue, I mean, we had UFC here and we stack ranked like with many of the large markets when it came. And so, and then if you compound the growth that's happened with tech and everything else, we're just not outside of that one metric. Like this isn't a small market team.
Okay, that was a decent
Sorry,
answer.
that was a long. Yeah.
I was gonna go grab a drink. Just we'll pitch
That was
pitch about
one
Utah.
hell of a guitar solo.
No. I wanted to lead with that just because say the quiet part out loud. We all know that there's misunderstandings on the internet about Utah, and like anything else in life, if there's nuance or context to it, I think it'll help. I'm not trying to change people's minds, but at the very least, I've been here now a couple of times, and everything that you say, I'm like, oh, now I see why there's this bit with Utah residents that like, no, we hate it here. Don't ever. They tell don't come here.
I see it actually on the screen right there. They're like, no, Steve, it sucks here.
Don't. Now I got it.
And people don't like it that I promote the state because they're like, no, we're good. We're good. I was like,
when I was standing on the roof of the No Name Saloon, I'm like, now I get it. I get why everyone says it. And then, so can you take me back to when? Because you are from Utah, passionate about Utah, clearly. Jazz fan, saw the picture that you showed me from your childhood there. He's all dressed up in his little jazz shirt. It's adorable. I don't know how else to put it.
Oh, that's cute.
But you get the call that the team is available from Adam Silver at some point.
Yeah.
What is the emotion that you have an opportunity to become the governor of your hometown team? First of all, how does that even happen? Okay, take us normal humans through the process.
Take everyone on Twitter through this?
Yeah,
All right,
just
like,
how do you
we go.
even get your hat in the mix? How do you go through the process? Yeah, obviously you don't need to go through the legalities of it all, but someone had to reach out to you and let you know, give you an inside track to it. And then what was your emotion like? I've got to do this, all in, let's make it happen.
So first of all, like, let's take a step back. My dad grew up in Washington. My mom grew up in Palo Alto. Okay, so I was born in Eugene, Oregon. My father was a professor at University of Oregon. And we have 5 kids in our family, and he decided to take a job in Provo, Utah, Brigham Young University as a professor. Both my parents are academics. And so I grew up here. My wife is from Las Vegas. And so we choose to be here. And it's been a big part, like, from starting Qualtrics when I was in college to where we are now. A lot of things have had to line up in our journey in the NBA. And the whole time throughout this journey, it's kind of like been told, like, I remember in 2012, we wanted to raise VC money, right? Well, the groups in San Francisco, they weren't betting on Utah. They wouldn't put money into Utah. And we ended up closing the largest Series A round of venture capital from Sequoia and Excel, which is like signing with the Yankees and the Red Sox, in Provo, Utah. And it was the largest round of an A round since 2008 in Utah. So that was a moment where it was like, holy cow, like, we're doing something that's never been done here. And then you go through the Qualtrics journey, and we're about ready to go public, and then SAP decides to buy our company. This is in 2018. And it was the largest private software deal of all time in Provo, Utah, which is another, like, oh, wait, like, you're starting to high mark on what is possible out of Utah. And I had been close with Danny Ainge for a long time. And I used to fly down to Summer League with DA. And I would just sit next to him, and, like, it's an experience. Like, I just want to watch him watch games. What is, like, the GOAT seeing that I'm not, right? And we just started talking. The more I got into the operations of the NBA, it was just contagious. I mean, you feel that. It's just such a fascinating sport in the league. And my introduction to the Jazz, I played junior jazz as a kid. My grandfather was an absolute, like, diehard jazz fan. And because my parents were, I mean, I would say they're not really sports fans. Like, my parents, like, it was my grandfather that got me into the Jazz, and he loved Hot Rod, and he loved this. And I mean, the last 2 weeks I've met, you know, Ricky Green and Adrian Dantley, and I used to have a poster on my wall as a kid of the Palace Guards from the Salt Palace. And we came through, and I knew I wanted to be part of the league. So actually my introduction to the NBA was through DA, and then as we started working, I had met Adam through Qualtrics and working in tech, because we did a lot of the feedback and the experience for fan experience in the NBA. And we were working on another team. Another team came up, and I knew how rare it was to get a shot to be part of an organization. First of all, timing is everything. Not only on the NBA side, but on your own personal side, because this is a massive commitment of what you've worked for. And so, like, the timing has to line up.
There's also a 1 in 30 chance that it's going to be your hometown team.
Well, like, the first step was, like, maybe there wasn't a 1 in 30. Maybe there was just a portion to be a part of a group. Because as the prices have gone up and everything else, that's becoming much more of a deal. I mean, the Millers paid, I think, $22 million for the team, which was a lot back then, but it's very different than it is today, because people could actually go on a solo mission and get it. And they bought it in 2 chunks, I think one for $8. And this was a time when they were splitting games in Vegas just to make payroll. And so when we actually went through the process, we were really, really close on another team. And we were all the way down the road, and it was a shot at being one of those 30 seats and to be part of the NBA, but it wasn't here. And I got so focused on it and saying, hey, look, this is probably the only shot we're going to get. It lined up with our timeline and the financial side. And I'm in talking to their owner at the time, And I'm talking with Adam, and we're all the way down the road, and I'm talking to my wife. And my wife goes, what about our Jazz tickets? I said, what do you mean? Well, like, so how are we going to go to the Jazz games? And I was like, well, if we do this other team, like, yeah, we're not doing that. We sit next to the Millers, and like we're a sponsor.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't work. And she's like, wait a minute. So what you're saying is, like, I get the time with you when we drive up to games and with our family and our boys. Ryan, we're Jazz fans. And I was like I had lost track of like, holy cow. And so I specifically remember I was at a golf event, and like, like if you're married, like, when you're not aligned. and Ash was not aligned with what I was doing. Like, I was like, she was barely talking to me like for the couple days, like thinking like, and she kind of put her foot down for like one of the first times. She's like, hey, look, like, I'm not on board with this because I know how you're going to go all in and how much you love the league and everything. Like, you're going to want to be a part, and we're 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And so I called Adam and I was like, look, man, I know that this might be one of the only shots.
Wow.
And
so you said no to that first.
I said no to that. And
talk about the stars aligning.
That was in February. And I just said I know that was going to be one of the shots. And before I went into this process, I remember sitting down with Gail Miller from the team, and we're one of the biggest sponsors of the Jazz at the time, and saying, hey, Gail, before I go down this road, is there any opportunity here, even for a little bit, to be more a part of this? Because I'm about ready to go through a one-way door that I can't get back out of.
Yeah, there's no dabbling.
No, like, once you go in, and like, you're burning that bridge. And she said, no, we're good. Like, this has been our family for 35 years, and I respect them so much. They've done such an incredible job. They kept the team here. Those who know in Utah, like, their impact on this with Larry building an arena. I mean, it was not popular. And you talk about breaking glass to get an arena, like, it's insane. And the answer was no. I mean, it was just hard no. And so we went down the road, and having to call Adam and being like, man, like, I can't do it. Like, I can't do it.
That call. Oh my God.
And then,
Adam, thanks for the offer, but
yeah. Well, no, and it's not that. And then, so in February, that's in February. And so I called the Miller back. I was like, look, we're going to be the best freaking Jazz sponsors you've ever had. Like, you have us for everything. Like, we're going all in on the Jazz. We are here. And we had done the jersey patch. We had given it to Cancer, which had never been done. And we rallied. We had a great partnership. Like, and just said, we are here. Like, this is it. And in July, we had decided to spin Qualtrics out of SAP and go public. And when we started that process, I was like, and I was going to be the CEO, or was looking at that to go public again. And I had worked with a guy, Zig Serafin, who was my number 2 and my COO at the time, and I said, Zig, like, you're going to go be the CEO somewhere. We're going to disrupt ourselves. Why don't you be the CEO of Qualtrics, and I'll just be the founder and the chairman, and we'll go take this thing public. And I became the chairman and the founder, like, which I was. And then almost a week and a half later, I get a call saying, hey, are you still interested in the team? I said, what? He's like, I said, just for a little bit? And they're like, no, the whole team.
This is from the
Millers.
Adam or the Millers?
The Millers.
Okay.
And I was like, this isn't real, right? And they're like, no. Like, if you gave us an offer, we'd have to do it. And I was like, well, what does an offer look like? Like,
you go to the pockets?
Yeah, no, like, literally, I pulled out my phone. And I looked at the 4 valuation of teams, and I said, is that fair? And they said, we'll take that back to the board. And they called me a week later, and they're like, yeah,
that's how it got done?
We're good. And
it's that easy?
No, it's not. But let me finish, because I don't want to get locked in that. And then we went through the process, and I remember sitting with the Millers, and we called Adam and the group and said, hey, like, the Millers said, hey, we're going to make this transition, and, you know, we believe that Ryan is the one to do it. And he said, out of the 30 phone calls I thought I'd be getting, this is not the one, right? And then Adam called me back and said, hey, if you're lucky enough in life to be a part of the NBA, in some part, there's 30 people that are hit the lottery and maybe can be in the one out of 30. It's like, but no one gets the team.
The hometown team.
No one gets the team they grew up cheering for. And I look at that process and I just realized Gail chose us because there wasn't a bidding process. There wasn't anything there. And that's a responsibility. And if you're in Utah and you understand that, like, there is a community aspect here of this that is something that Ash and I have signed up to go do. So when you ask the question about the All-Star game and what the responsibility is, like, I go back to that moment and say a little bit, hey, I mean, we're younger. We're a lot younger. I mean, in the NBA, it's young. It's always on. And, like, we've got to go try to finish what Gail and Larry and that crew had started.
Interesting.
And I personally feel that. And, like, I'm excited. Like, there's nothing I want more in this lifetime than to hand Gail Miller a championship trophy.
There you go. I was not expecting that answer, to be honest with you. That's pretty fucking cool, right? I don't get applause.
What's that?
I don't get applause. How did you get applause?
Well, you just, if you ramble on long enough, like, these guitar solos are happening.
They're roasting me in the chat because they say it looks like you have a Bible in your lap. So they bullied me out of getting rid of my book and stuff like that. But no, yes, thank you, all of you that are watching on the internet right now. I have a giant screen with your comments that Ryan is reading as he just told that story.
And that's personal, but I don't know how else to say it.
No,
right? Like, that's it.
That's the
the
type of
story.
shit that this type of forum is used to provide. And
And
I don't
I
know
haven't-
many people, it's even inside Utah, would know that story unless you told it. So.
No, I mean, people know it, but, like, it's just crazy. Like, you look back to starting a business in a basement, and, like, this is the stuff that happens in Utah. Like, this is what happens in Utah. Like, I'm like, Utah's given me everything. And, like that's it.
I would have
And
just
the other
ended the sentence
lesson
there. That would have gotten another round of applause. Okay.
The next thing is, like, my wife was right.
She was. Happy wife, happy
Many
life.
times, right?
So let's now that the business has been taken care of, the current state of the franchise. I can't tell you how many times they're on their feet at the No Name Saloon. I did it the other night, and people were yelling at me, no, we want to tank now because we're through the trade deadline. So let's get this out of the way real quick, because there's very clearly no directive to tank or purposely lose games or put them in a position to fail. From my brief experience with you, that does not seem like an option whatsoever. And it's not there's no politically correct answer either. Like, oh, we're here to.
Especially when you're in my shoes, there's no politically correct.
No.
Yeah.
There's no we want our guys to get used to a winning culture would be a popular answer here. But it sounds like it's more than that with you. And this team has exemplified that this year. They don't fucking die, Ryan.
No,
I watch them like they have to lose this game. Right? They're not nearly as good as. And at the beginning of the year, up until now, season ends today. You're still potentially a part of the postseason here.
So if you think about
why are we here is my question.
So if you think about crunch time games, like, we lead the league in, like, games that are within five points with 5 minutes left. Like, that's insane. And I think first of all, it's Coach Hardy and getting everyone locked in. We're younger, and, like, a lot of the trades that we made, which are tough decisions, right? Like, being in this spot, being in tech, like, you've got to make tough decisions, right? As you look for the next windows to open and how long they can open for. When it comes to your words on tanking, like, there's a lot of organizations that probably have, like, a really small window to get into the draft or that. We have the most first-round picks in the NBA right now, unprotected. So, like, we're looking and saying, hey, look, this is going to be a process. And, Danny's got a history of going much quicker than people think. And, you see moves like the KD trade or that. Like, we can do that 3 times. And still have a couple picks.
The market economics are determined by supply and demand. And there is one team that has So it sounds like you and Sam Presti are just like going at it here.
No,
Just
I don't
assemble
know.
the fortresses
No,
of picks.
it's not-
No, it's not that.
Yeah, I
You've
mean,
been doing-
like, it's not like, you know, you kind of, like, I came into the league and I was like, what's the plan? What's the plan? Like, let's get our 5-year vision. Like, this isn't tech. Like, we actually can only plan so far ahead. And if anyone thinks you can plan 3 years out, like, there's no way. You would have never predicted coming into this year that this many teams would be this close going in, and we would have had that active of a trade market. Like, no one would have predicted that. We had 54 players move.
Right.
Like, that's so you just need to be ready and be flexible and opportunistic. And that's what I'm learning. When I came in, I wanted something different. I felt like I wanted to see like a 3-year plan and like the full mission statement and everything we were going through. And like after a year, I was like, hey guys. Like,
Well, talk about adapting to the market and current events. I'll give you guys just a little bit of context. One of the first conversations that Ryan and I had over Zoom is just 3-4 weeks maybe before the trade deadline, I would say is accurate timing. And he just asked me straight up, he's just like, what would you do if you were like a GM? Like, what's your feelings on the team? And I was kind of just anticipating shooting the shit with him. And just, I wasn't going to be put on. Granted, I have ideas, but I'm like, you want my opinion on what you, don't you have like a basketball operations department? And he goes, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. Practically snaps his fingers, does this. Danny Ainge walks in. He goes, why don't you, now I have to sit here and preach. I got to preach to the man who is responsible for some of the biggest, most blockbuster, arguably even lopsided trades in NBA history, how to do his job. Talk about pressure. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, Danny, and the most obvious thing in the world. I go, well, if you can get a first rounder for Malik Beasley, that would make me happy. I'm like, how many times has he heard that, in the past? And he's such a trooper because he's sitting in there with his little golf club and he's just listening to me. He's like, oh, that sounds great. I'm like, that's 15 minutes of his life that he's probably never going to get back. But I told that story just because, just the instinct, just genuine conversation about having it. I probably should have come prepared with a much more ludicrous trade offer and maybe spark some interest. But I think you guys did okay.
Still open. I think, and
you ended up getting the first round pick
yeah,
for him.
and
So
I think
I was right.
I think
Just saying.
I think the cool thing about DA and I would say Justin as well, like they listen to everyone. They're gonna do what probably they're gonna do, but I've never seen, like, if you look at Ainge, like you would think he wouldn't ever listen to people or ask people questions, because if you've gotten to where you've got, or where he's got, it's probably more like this. Like, we'll be there and a fan will come up and be like, hey, Danny, I wish, oh man, I have so, he's like, shoot, like, tell me what you think. Just like,
That's
tell
crazy
me what you
though.
think.
That doesn't happen.
Tell me what you think. And like, the fan's like 12 years old. Like, what do you think we should do? I mean, I remember specifically this summer, we're playing golf and there's a Clippers fan, right, who comes up and he's like, oh, the Jazz suck and this and that. And he was coming out, we're playing golf, and there was a kid. This kid's like 14 years old, right? And he comes up and he's like, oh, that's Danny. Oh, I've got some ideas for you. And he's like, oh, like Danny sits there and looks at him, and the kid's like, I would trade a first, a second, and a third round pick for this person. And Danny's like hearing him out, and in the end he's like, we don't have third round picks, right?
Do not answer this question, but
Yeah.
do you know what would happen if I did that to Leon Rose and James Dolan? Don't answer that, but it would not go the same way, okay? So.
Well, but don't you do that every night?
Yeah,
like
but I don't.
How's it going?
I don't go up to them in like person or like over
yeah.
Zoom, and I'm like, Leon, let me.
I think you probably
got
have
15 minutes for me, Leon?
Leon's a chill
Yeah,
guy.
of
You
course.
could do it in person. It'd probably be better in person. But anyways, I think it's more of a mentality. And like, I think one of the things that I've learned, if I look back over 21 years in tech and say, people are like, what have you done? You're in software. I was like, no, we're in the business of building teams. That's what we've done. If I look back, like the whole thing is like team. And if I look with DA, I mean, you were just out there with us and Justin, like, and you saw it with Sean Payton. Sean Payton just came in. He's a great friend. Like, he just announced that he's going and why he went to the Broncos. And he's like, ownership, GM, like that triangle has to be right, perfect. And I think that's what we're building. And I really like it's making it fun. And so when DA came back, And I had a chance to work with him. I mean, he's a guy I was calling during this process to say, hey, is this crazy? Like the Jazz might come up. And there was no thought that he would ever be working or we would be working because, 18 years in Boston, everything he's done, 46 years in the league, and to be able to come back and then create a new position called CEO for Danny Ainge. Because, there's a lot of people, and just have him be there and mentor and kind of go through it all, and then be fortunate to have Justin Zanuck as a GM underneath that and working together. It's been so much fun.
So let me ask you about, I understand the reasoning for not tanking. How many examples of actual tanking have occurred throughout time? Just the 76ers putting out Isaiah Cannon and Tony Roden for a year. That's really the only one out there I can think of that was a commitment to it. But the reason why I brought that up is because when I get asked that question about tanking and why are we not just going all in on this generational talent that's coming up in the draft, I then turn on a Jazz game, and these home games are like watching Cameron Indoor Stadium, as much as I hate Duke, but the atmospheres on a Wednesday night or a Friday night is, and this is a hypothetical question, is it because it's the only show in town during the winter until Real Salt Lake and some of the summer activities come back that it's a main event every single night? And when I watch Jazz home games, I'm not saying this because I'm sitting next to this guy or talking to their fans right now, but can we all agree that the Jazz have one of the most intense home crowds? You've all been there before. The place is loud as shit. Okay, on a Wednesday night against the Magic. It still gets loud in there. You don't even have Donovan Mitchell anymore, and it's still just as loud. So I get it, because if you were to choose the tanking route, and you've got this 15,000 fans out there that are knowledgeable and understand that we may not win a title this year. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I'm just realistically speaking here, yet they still show up anyway, and they cheer as if it's Game 7 every single night. And again, that's maybe because Utah has an NBA team, no NFL here, no NHL. There is MLS, as you are well aware, but there is something that would, if I was a governor or a chairman of a team, I would have a really hard time not putting a entertainment product on the floor for this audience. And one of the biggest issues across the league right now is load management. I get DMs 15 to 20, or in the Radio Roulette community, of people sending me screenshots of, I bought this ticket in Cleveland to see LeBron return. I'm just making this up, but I paid $500 for it, and no one's playing this weekend. I'm driving my family up. Why would I ever spend money on an NBA game again? So when you're answering the question about not tanking and moving the franchise forward and what it embodies, I guess the question I want to ask you is there a solve for it? Because the product that you're putting on the floor, without what many outside of Utah would consider to be an A-list talent, a LeBron, a Giannis, a Steph, there's very few of those brand names, yet you still sell the bitch out every single night. So
what's your question? No, I know where you're going. Okay, so a couple things.
Constructive conversation on load management across the league, and not just Utah, because the teams coming in there, you can't control that. But Utah always shows up to play.
So first of all, one of the tests for me this year was when the University of Utah was playing in the Rose Bowl. We had a game that same day. And I was like, this will be interesting, because I swear every University of Utah fan that's ever walked the planet was down in Pasadena. Mm-hmm. Which a lot of our season ticket, the place was packed. I've been here where we've got Real Salt Lake, and we're a part, ownership on both sides. We're game here, game there. There is plenty of capacity in Utah, back to the small market. And that has become abundantly clear. And you don't sell out that many games without that. So, but from our standpoint, that is a part of the decision making, but that is not the driver of why this team is where it's at all. Because you would go back to decisions made this summer and say, well, that would probably impact it more than anything else.
Course.
So I think we've already passed that test of, are we willing to do what we need to do to get that trophy? And and you have to operate that way, where what is long-term and what is the best long-term thing for the franchise. And so there's that side of it. On the load management issue, I just go back to recently was the Boston Celtics Milwaukee Bucks game. I mean, where Boston had
The one this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where Boston had, I mean, that was like all the way down. I mean, that's crazy. And Boston had a couple guys out. There is so much talent in the NBA. So much talent in the NBA. And one of the reasons why we did the trade we did was recently at the deadline is to free up minutes for our younger guys. And, you know, you saw Ochai have a great game last night, or Walker Kessler. I mean, and I think
THT
during the
still
trade,
counts, yeah.
THT, like, we hadn't really been able to see what they would look like, and with major minutes. And so I think that, like, that's.
But the model here is working, because back to that A-list superstar example, that your home fans are showing up and selling out even on Rose Bowl weekend, because there is an expectation that the team is going to play hard and compete. And even on the road, like last night in Memphis, lost the game, but almost stole that without your starting all-star in the game. So why is it working here and not anywhere else? And you can't speak for other franchises, because there's different demographics to New York, in Cleveland, and Miami.
It's early. It's early in this process. Like, I don't want to say, hey, it's working here or not. Like we're out there. I think what the fans really, really like is seeing a team compete. And that has been the number one thing.
Hold on, are you guys happy with the product in Utah? All right.
Like, look at this. Like
they're clapping. You're under 500, and you must be doing something right.
Because the way Will and this team, they're preparing themselves and they're coming out is every night, like, there's a game, and it's a game. Like I said, with crunch time games, like when you lead the league in crunch, like the amount of times where I'm sitting there with 7 minutes left in the fourth, and I turned to my wife and I was like, here we go again. It's a 2-point game.
Yeah.
Like, our fans have been spoiled this year with incredible basketball down the stretch. Like, incredible basketball. And the amount of people we've been hosting this year who have come into town and been like, win or lose, that was insane. When it's coming down the last minute 30 and it's tied, and and you even look at the games where it's where we've lost on like a last minute three. I mean, there was a 6-game period where we had 3 3-pointers where we lost in the last 20 seconds, which is.
Is there something to be said about not just the Jazz, but success in creating an entertaining product?
Oh, for sure.
This would be the example, right?
For sure.
Other franchises would look at the Jazz and say, okay, they have one all-star in Lauri Markkanen, but who is going to pay surge pricing for a Jazz at Grizzlies game that's not a Jazz fan? And that number would normally, realistically, be limited, right? Because it's not Steph Curry, it's not those names I mentioned. Yet, still, when you come home, you're on the road, there's an expectation that the Jazz are going to compete, and no one really seems to bring up load management or non-COVID illness or general soreness, or how many of these names do I have to bring up, that when the Jazz play. Now, you don't control the day-to-day of the operations or who gets sick, and there may be some legitimate injuries that we don't know about, so let's not throw them under the bus.
It's really hard. Like, my first year, like, I thought we had a really good chance to go, and like we were looking really good, and this is when we lost to the Clippers, if you remember that comeback, and because we weren't healthy in the playoffs. This is super difficult for a lot of teams and a lot of players, depending on where they're at in their careers. Like, the whole next year, we were like, we got to be healthy going into the playoffs, because that was a major piece. Like, we knew that if we weren't healthy, it was over. Like, just like that was health going into the playoffs was the number one priority for the Jazz coming in, because we had seen that if we're not healthy, we have no chance, right? And going through that, where we had Don, if you remember, with the ankle, we had Conley with a hamstring, and they were both like 60%, I'd say. Maybe, I mean, Don was in pain every single game, and it was just like cringing. He would just keep going. And like, I think if we would have had a healthy a healthy team, it would have changed a lot. So it's how hard players like are getting into it and saying, hey, look, I've got a bad knee. Like, do I keep going? And the game's hard. These guys go hard. They go hard. And so every organization's different. But I think you're hitting on something that fans, they see the effort, and they truly
Clearly.
do. And so in the small stuff, they see the details, which is actually something that's super interesting, is because the coaches are always coaching details. Like in business, we're always coaching details. Well, the fans actually see the details and the comments. Like if you read actually the comments, it's like all the little details that you see that get you like fired up. And so I think it's been a pretty cool year and an interesting one. And to have Lowry, starting the All-Star game, like I know you called that at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for giving me credit.
But I think it's cool, and him and the three, and JC, and Walker and Sexton. It's actually the perfect weekend.
So let's put a bow on top of this, the fireside chat-ish type of.
We're
gonna get the interrogation going on here.
Really?
If you've got time, I think we still got.
My goodness, what time is it? 3 o'clock?
10:50 or 11:50. How much time you got? You want to take a question or two?
What's that? At noon?
Wrap at noon. So okay.
Yeah, we got 7
7
minutes.
7 minutes here. We'll open this up to the internet as well. But is there anyone here that has a question for either of us? Yeah, fire away.
For you, but I'll start with Ryan.
Okay.
So a quick note about branding. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about jerseys and everything is like we see the jerseys unveiled and then you see random XYZ guy like, look at this sweet concept I did that's much better, and they mash up the jersey and everyone sees that. I wonder if you could just speak to the complexity of like how do you go about a rebrand? What does it take, both internally and even just like with Nike in the league? Because I think that's probably lost on so many people.
Yeah, for sure. So, and first of all, I didn't know we had so many designers in Utah. I mean, I've opened like so many recs over the years, all the years, and like it's crazy because we pay pretty good, like in tech. Like I wish some of them would have applied. But the one thing I would say is like, especially with this last one, like you're very constrained. Like you have to operate in within like windows and what you can do. So this last movement, the most we could do was alter a few colors, and then the colors, like there's certain colors that can't be used. And then by the way, they stick it on a color palette and a document and send it out to 300 vendors. And 300 vendors then take the liberty to say, oh, like you intend to put it like in a certain way. So for example, come up here. Like what's your name? Sam. Yep. So like this is made by a vendor. Yeah, Apex from back in the day. I'm thriving corporation of Apex. I don't know who they are, but love your stuff. Thanks, man. But like I think the Jazz probably did some sort of color scheme, but the document's supposed to say, hey, look, like we're gonna actually do it this way, but someone might come out and be like, okay, we're doing all yellow, and then we're gonna put a little bit of purple in there and take liberty. And then the internet's like, oh my gosh, did you see this at Ross Dress for Less? And it's like, okay, like, wow, that's completely like off. And so I think people just need to do a little bit more research to understand before like they freak out. Or Twitter just becomes Twitter, right? Where it's like, all right, that's not a representation of our fan base, which isn't. Like if you read Twitter all day long, you'd be like, oh my gosh, the Jazz, this, that. And it's like, no, we have 230 straight sold out games and everything else. Like they don't match up. The Twitter data on our jerseys do not match up with the data from our fans. So we've got to get more educated to combine those worlds, because I actually love Twitter. Like I think it's such an amazing opportunity. Look what we're doing now. What, you don't think I do?
No. I'm one of those people that.
Yeah, like. Well, no, I was one of those people too. Like 2 years ago, I probably would have been like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? But then you get on the inside and you're like, oh, like you've actually got, this is at scale. And then I think with the rebranding, the team is going to be rebranding for the next 20 years. Just because the way that Nike and the league are doing jerseys, you're basically creating a new brand every year. And if you don't believe that, when we came in and had the Black Mountain or the Black City, that became our brand. And if you're in Utah, you knew that. For every purple or sweatshirt or thing you would see 4 of the city edition. No one wore the blue or the white anymore. I have the data on this, right? And then I think the other thing is like everyone's like, oh, I'm not buying that jersey. It's like we have the data on who's buying jerseys. like we know who's buying jerseys and how many of each jersey is sold. But I think the other cool thing is like, especially with the Jazz, we want our fans to wear Jazz gear every day. Just like someone would wear a country club or a golf shirt or something they have. And so one of the things that we're pushing on is like so much emphasis on the jersey, but what about the swag you wear? Like I love wearing a note or something every day. And I think that's where we're going. If you look at the collabs and the brands we're working with and just launching Counterpoint, our new brand, like you're seeing all of these different things about, hey, it's the everyday wear. Like, where's the hoodie? Where's the quarter zip? Where's whatever you're going to wear? We started this right when we got going with like Lululemon. I think we ordered 3 times as much Lululemon as anyone else in the league. And the note played perfect on some of that. And so we've completely expanded that model. So does that answer your question?
That's great. I think the biggest thing is the misconception of like slap it on a logo and it's different. You even talk about like restrictions from the league or Nike, even of like colors.
And they have to do that. I mean, could you imagine the brain damage of like 30 teams like every moment going, oh my gosh, like just the city edition coming out every year.
Are you and Travis Scott going to collab by the time this weekend's over?
We already have collab.
I mean,
like really?
Like with the note.
I have so many stories on that, but like he's got an eye. Like he's
it's called
got
a
an
teaser
eye.
in
Yeah,
the business.
yeah.
Mike, do we have time for one more? We got one more. Oh my. Oh, okay.
Ooh.
2 past All-Stars, put them in this weekend. I mean. Oh, okay.
Well, you got to break that down a little. That's broad. How about a shooter? So you get 1 shooter. Okay. And you get
John Starks for me.
John Starks.
You think these gray hairs grew themselves?
I was not going to go there.
You get 1, I get 1. John
One
Starks.
shooter, John Starks. I would go Dirk.
Dirk Nowitzki. Sold.
Like Dirk, just there's something about that guy that just like is such. He's easy to root for.
Quick one. We'll do.
So you've talked about how important like the Utah community is, and like you have such a big influence on all the sports, like the Jazz, the Bees moving to Daybreak, and like bringing the Royals back. I guess my question is, with the Bees moving to Daybreak, is the MLB team moving to Utah within like the realm of possibility, or is
So like I think we've been very clear with Smith Entertainment Group that we are actively looking for another franchise, and that's also involves a lot of timing. And NHL, MLB, or I mean, you can do. There's not many out there, but I think and like figure out how to get them to work together. We know that we can support that as a community, and we also know that, and the leagues are aware of the growth here. Like they know there's not a whole lot of selling that needs to be had to those leagues. It's just more timing and how, and expansion's hard. You know, if someone wanted an expansion NBA team, like that's not like snap your fingers and go. That is a hard, long process that's been talked about for 10 years. And so there's expansion, and then there's obviously the relocation, which is also hard. If you look at like the NFL, when was the last time an NFL team relocated? Well, you have Oakland, right? Who went
of course.
but before that, like it's not an easy process. And then when was the last expansion team? So timing is really important on that, and getting it right. And so we think we're in a good spot, and I think everyone will support it. But we're open for business on that front.
Love it. Thank you.
Open for business. I think that's a good spot to relieve Ryan of his duties to Radio Roulette. We thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. This is awesome.
Okay, hey.
Appreciate you. Internet appreciates you too.
Yeah.
You want to dare send DA down here?
I don't know where DA is.
Oh, he probably left.
Like,
he saw me and he probably dipped out.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to talk to this guy about Malik Beasley again.
Hey, like, and I love Malik, but I think you need to get DA to do one of these. I don't know.
There's a chair if he's here.
All right.
We'll
I don't know
him
where
down.
he is. He's
all
probably
good.
running around somewhere.
It's all good.
Okay, brother.
It's good
Thanks
to
for
see you.
coming out.
I'll hang around and I don't.
Yeah,
do we need to
for sure.
leave the? Do we know we need to leave the room? Can we keep it? Is that a yes? We need to leave or no? I mean, just take a couple
You want the
questions.
room?
Wait to see if
you guys
keep
can
the
be
stream
around.
going for a couple minutes.
You're literally gonna.
You got shit to do. There's something going on this weekend, right? That you need to be around for. But yeah, no, thank you for hanging out with us. I know these guys appreciate it and all the above. Thanks, Ryan.
The only other thing I would say is like very rarely do you get a moment where you know you're going to be like, especially if you're in Utah, you're going to be talking about this moment. Like the amount of questions I get from people like, okay, tell me where you were at All-Star when All-Star was in Utah. It's actually one of those things that like we're talking about 30 years later. And so as a practice, like reverse engineering that and say, okay, what story do I want to be telling on Monday morning or Sunday night? And so if you're here, like go rally that and make that happen. Like that's what this should be. Like if you want to say, hey, like for me, it's like I have a couple moments. Like I want me and my boys to like have a moment together, and like my girls, and like do that. Like, and I've got to go manufacture that this weekend. And you know, who knows? My kids might not even think like just like me with my parents. I'm sure they were creating a lot of moments that I don't remember. Right? But for me, I think that's really important. So you get this shot, and you know you're going to be talking about it for a long time. So go make it happen. All right.
Give it up for Ryan Smith, everybody. Well, now you're stuck with me. What's going on?
How are you?
Internet? Now I can pay attention to you, so stop talking shit. They were dogging me before. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you. Thanks, guys. If you see, yeah, I'll be here. You see DA, send him down if he's out there. So appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, we were just doing a fake press conference over there. I know he's lurking, but we'll hang out for a little bit. So was that worth hopefully coming hanging out? All right. Let me go through the list of questions I had. Let's see if we touched. Yeah, I was on the plane. I'm like, I might as well jot something down, but I know he can carry a conversation. And it's more so just it's not an interview style of like, let me pull this out. And question number 4, what's the vision for the franchise? You know what I mean? And just having a casual conversation, I think you learn more that way. And it comes off more authentically as opposed to an interrogation. That was the idea for doing this here today. So again, thank you guys for driving up here, driving down here. You probably got work, class, whatever is going on. So thank you for making that. Oh yeah, we're on lunch. We're on lunch, but I'm an open book. We'll wait a couple minutes and see if we'll get Danny Ainge in here, especially for you. No, not a good idea. All right. Well, you got your question already. So what's good?
This Jordan Clarkson work of art.
Yes.
Progressing.
Is it going to come back?
Well, not only is it going to come back, I'm just like, when it's complete, assuming it is complete, and you know, it might be a little too highbrow for the Louvre, but what are your plans for it? Are you going to turn it into an NFT?
Oh God, no. No, that's maybe if someone. I'm sure there's got to be some copyright because I'm using not only NBA jerseys but people's faces. I could probably just put it on a T-shirt and make it at the mall and just hand them out for free. But if I ever tried to sell those things, I'd be getting a call from Secaucus rather quickly, I believe. So, hopefully, there's very specific rules. People are like, add their picture. I'm like, no, read the rules. Like, there's rules. You have to be over 500. It has to be against a team that you haven't beaten. It's a collection of faces that you put on there. And I move it around. I don't know. Someone originally did the Jordan Clarkson Photoshop with with LeBron looking up at him. So that wasn't my original idea. I just was adding faces to it as a part of a thread. So I think I quote tweeted whoever was originally responsible for that, but that's my plans are to just keep adding and then let it just grow into a beast of itself organically and cross that bridge when I get there, man.
Sell Prince.
So,
Prince. All jazz fans would love that.
I bet they would, but that might get me in trouble.
Does he know about it?
He doesn't. I'm actually supposed to link up with him at some point today or tomorrow for a side Radio Roulette video, but I don't know. I'll show it to him if I do. And that was one thing Ryan didn't mention too was JC. Those of you watching, Jordan Clarkson was one of the first things we talked about, and how Jordan showed up here, and it was just like, holy shit, I love this place. And that sparked the conversation of Utah Health Hub and what we were discussing before. But Jordan Clarkson's been in LA, he's been in Cleveland. I don't know where JC even grew up, but he moved his family here, I think, as well. So I mean, that's a human resource commitment. These players have houses and families everywhere, but it sounds like he's pretty serious about, I don't know if that's inside information or not, but he's inclined to be here for the long haul, and certainly see why. Landing at the airport today, I'm like, because I was here over the summer, like, fucking gorgeous. I mean, the mountains all just lit up with the sun coming over. It really is a scene to be seen, and I think people hopefully will see that. And part of doing these conversations with Ryan and Radio Roulette's, here live, is I'm motivated. I'm passionate about when I come here. I like skiing. I like the No Name Saloon. I like hiking. Things like that. So that was the reason for doing it. It just lined up with All-Star Weekend. What a better way to showcase it all at once. I probably would have done it by myself anyway, honestly. But Ryan wanted to tag along, so I thought I'd make a little bit of an event out of it. Let's go here, then I'll go back there. Yeah.
So I know I was watching your Radio Roulette show when you were hyping up Bando, and then you got absolutely destroyed by the KD trade.
Mm-hmm.
You got Shanghai. But anyway, what I'm saying is, do you think if Russell Westbrook chooses to stay in Utah, it would be a good fit for the team?
With their current direction, I mean, you heard Ryan say that they're trying to find time to play some of these young guys, all the names that he listed before. If you give Russell Westbrook 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes that could have gone to Baji, DHT, all these names. Not Walker Kessler, but at least in the backcourt. So I don't think he'll end up playing for the team. It sounds like that might be being bought out. Maybe if Danny walks through that door, hey, Danny, what's up with Russ? And then he'll just sit down and ramble off. But my personal opinion is I think he'll be bought out. I didn't ask Ryan about it, but I think he'll be bought out, and he'll probably end up with the Clippers, just him being an LA guy. He's got his family there. It's where he's from. Come off the bench, do a Carmelo Anthony business pivot in terms of your career that, Pete, they want me to come off the bench. Like, I don't know if that's going to be you're going to hear Russ say that, because he's already proven he's done it he did it with the Lakers too. He's willing to come off the bench. He wasn't happy about it. Remember when he had that hamstring injury, by the way, in the preseason, that they had him come off the bench and, ow, my hammy hurts? It may have actually hurt, but.
Nothing went down with him and Beverly. But we were hyping that up in the summer.
Yeah.
That there's going to be like shit going down.
They're supposedly really close, and if they can make it through, that should be more, because I doubted it for sure. If there was one rivalry in which we were all certain would never, ever be fixed, Beverly versus Westbrook. We know the long CVS receipt of altercations that they have had throughout their careers, and that they were able to go out there and do it. Maybe it gives us hope that, you know what, if they can get over it, you can get over your grudge too. What's up?
So it sounds like you got a couple plans to meet some people while you're here this weekend. Who's your number one that you hope you run into this weekend that you don't have on the books?
Well, other than Ryan, it was the reason for taking the 5:45 a.m. flight up here. If I could meet anyone, I've met Adam a couple of times, but just more so in passing. So maybe if I stumble into Adam, he's going to be just a little busy this weekend too. But we went to the same high school. We are from the same city, so we have like things in common that we can catch up on. And I know a certain individual is responsible for finding his Twitter account, in which I remember back in the day we found out he's on Twitter. Everyone was searching, and then Milton Point is a part of Rye, New York, in which people live, and that was the giveaway that he was on Twitter. I don't think he's ever tweeted or used it, but it did exist. So just a very long-winded way of answering your question. Just say what's up to Adam. He probably has no clue who I am. I've been using his face as my profile picture for a decade now, practically. I'm like, that's me on Twitter, I guess. But anything else? What's up?
So you have 1 million followers now, by the way.
Yeah.
But you follow 1 million people too. I know you don't follow all of them, but how do you manage who you actually do follow? Like lists, or do you actually read your?
Well, now my Twitter since Elon took over is completely broken. I could show you my. You want to see what my timeline looks like? Nope.
Can we see your DMs?
This, I get one tweet, and it's from Sneaker Twitter. That's it. My Twitter does not work, so I don't see any of. I have a separate list on a separate burner account, which will go unnamed, in which I use Twitter. There's 30. There's like 40 burners, but just one that's not like public. I just use it to follow people, but. So yeah, Twitter just does not work for me. It hasn't worked in years. So maybe because the account follows so many people. You know, it was an algorithm just to follow people back a couple years ago. I can't turn it off. It's broken now, so it is what it is. What's up?
So you said you've been to Utah a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get burritos when you're here, or are we going there after this?
I may have to find myself a burrito to throw. I can't. There's snow on the ground. I'm gonna have to find somewhere that's clean that I can do a proper drop test. But how are the burritos in Utah? They weren't. Chungos. Park City did not have many options for burritos.
No, maybe West Valley if you want a really hardcore burrito.
Okay.
Or like
I like this.
The street taco stands downtown where the old Sears is being demolished.
Okay.
I'm telling you, $4 for the fattest burrito, and it's gonna roll.
Can you guys online hear this? I hope you're taking notes. That the best burrito places in Salt Lake City. So the Chungas, okay, Chungas. Internet, you've been patient enough. I haven't addressed you yet. I see you, so if there's something that you guys want me to answer, I'm more than happy to, but until I see a question, go ahead.
What's your favorite player rivalry right now in the NBA? And then favorite NBA personality rivalry? We've got some new ones budding. Like, for instance, like JJ Redick, Mad Dog is a great rivalry right now.
Oh, like media versus. Well, JJ does a good job because he shows up to any debate with things like facts and context, which help. You know, like stats and analytics. He can support his point with actual numbers in addition to experience. Like, I can sit here and read Basketball Reference too, but I haven't played like JJ has. So but that works though because he's going up against someone that is a boomer. Okay, but I love Matt. I'm from New York. Like Mike and the Mad Dog is inspiration for getting into sports. So putting Mad Dog there, who's on the complete other end of the spectrum, versus JJ Redick, and he's out there. This would have never happened in the '80s. Like that just makes for good TV. The producers know what they're doing there. There's a reason why Disney is valued at what it is because they create television, which gets people asking questions in fireside chats about their shows. So yeah, that one just. Anytime Draymond Green hops on that podcast, I'm like, oh God. I just, you know, he's doing it because 1, he can, 2, he wants to, 3, he foresees a post-career business in media, and also he can rile people up, and I think he enjoys doing that. So Draymond I think he will eventually at some point replace Barkley. I don't know what the NBA TNT rights look like 2-3 years down the road because there is a negotiation coming up. But Draymond certainly is playing his cards right to fill that seat once the crew moves on. So I don't think I even answered your question. But current rivalry, Ja Morant versus the Warriors is pretty fun. Even though I like teams that step out of like they have no right in saying the things they did. What have you won? Well, you know what? Like the NWO Black and White didn't win anything really either, but people cared when Hulk Hogan and all them were out there. So, yeah, I like that. What's up?
Do you have any good ideas for fixing the dunk contest? I've only had one good one in 20 years.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about this one coming up. To say that usually it's two really bad ones followed by the greatest ever. The same way that the Dream Team had to come in and save the U.S. team, that because if you get embarrassed enough, someone's going to step in to be the savior. It's great for your brand. So whether that's John Morant stepping in and be like, you know what, I'm going to do the dunk contest, the whole world will congregate to watch him. So how to save it? I think every dunk at this point has been done, right? It's every joke on the internet has been said, unless it's regarding a current event of some kind. So I'm jumping over airplane props, cars. There, you could certainly you could do it in a different style. Has anyone done like the scorpion dunk? I think was done 2 years ago. It was the first time anyone's really seen the inverted, like, I guess there's just different ways to move your body, but we're just changing the ingredients of this at this point of a soup that's already made. It's just the way I feel about it. So how to fix it would be to get big brand names in there like a John Morant, even a Shaden Sharp, these dudes who can fly, and it's always about the hype. Dunk contest is nothing but hype. All right, you got Kenny Smith out there on the mic. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's meant to be the wrestling portion of our NBA season. So, but you have to back that hype up with eventually performance as well. And Mac McClung is either going to finish dead last, or he's going to finish with a perfect score. Because I've seen that guy dunk. He can dunk, but there are very low expectations for him for a variety of reasons, okay? So he's either going to go out there and change everyone's mind, there's going to be shock value to it, or it's going to be terrible. So I think eventually we're going to need a big A-list player to get back into it the same way the Dream Team decided, let's get together and turn USA basketball into something that is back to being world-renowned. You've waited.
What are your postseason hot takes?
Postseason hot takes, as in who can win, who's going to miss.
Whatever you got of just like expectations or any like unpopular opinions of, I think the Knicks are actually going to do anything.
No. I'm not letting this little win streak fool me. I'm proud of them. They play hard, but the Knicks will not be. I'd be stunned if they won a first-round series. If they qualify in sixth place, I think that would be above and beyond expectations. I'd probably go to the Western Conference. I still, you know what, I had the Pelicans as a team that was already built as a championship, what felt like a month ago, and they've fallen off planet Earth. And I've worked for that organization, and similar to the Jazz, they have a home atmosphere that, I mean, it's New Orleans. It's in the middle of the city. We see what Saints games are like in Mardi Gras, that they, against the Suns, that series. I think if Zion somehow got back in there and they showed us that same form that they had, that would be my dark horse to make a conference finals, because now in the West, we are so top-heavy with the Suns, your team getting Kevin Durant. Denver's up there on top, but it's an arms race right now, and the Pelicans were not a part of that arms race. So if you're looking for a dark horse type of opinion, I would say that I think that they will get back to the point of still being competitive for a West championship. Now, if you guys need to go, by the way, please feel free. So I don't want to keep you here all day. What's up?
So you're following all these games every night. It's overwhelming. I'm curious if you just walk us through how you do it and how you're able to post things so quickly. What do you use? Is that MacBook where the magic happens?
Yeah, you're looking at it. I think there's an iPad on the other side of it that's laying down. Yeah, the question was just what my setup looks like, and I have 2 computers, 2 iPads, 2 televisions, and on the computers you can do quad box, so I can handle up to 11 games at once. But while it's certainly been done before, I guess the difference for me is I have the sound on all of them, which, yeah. Well, there's a method to the madness, because, yeah, that is the answer. So it just feels like there's so much noise that it's almost white noise that you can't even like comprehend what's going on. But the game that I'm staring at, you can hear like the play-by-play. But the reason for doing it is I only have 2 eyes and 2 ears, and the eyes have to look the same way. So I try and line up the computers and the iPads all within the same line of vision so that I can see them all happening at once. So the TV's here, the computer's here, and I'm just watching the games. But the sound, the reason why it's on is if I hear the Grizzlies broadcast go crazy, it's because John Moran just did something, and then it's, the Eye of Sauron fixes over here. And then I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And then I'll hit go back 10 seconds there, and if I see the bench mob is going crazy, I better yeah. And then if I'm putting a video up, because I'm using all of my devices, and if you go to use League Pass, my CPU usage is, right? Is anyone else? I mean, League Pass has its issues, we know, but it takes up so much RAM on your computer that for me to do a screen record or like use OBS or something, it would blow up. So it's just quicker for me to continue to just do it the old-fashioned way, pulling out your phone and screen record. I get made fun of all the time for it, but it's just simply I don't have any other choice. And now that I'm the only one that does it the bootleg way, it's become a brand. If you see they're not grainy, but pirate-y type of video, you know where it came from.
I have bookmarked and it's yours, which is.
You know where it came from. Like, this doesn't look HD. Who did? Oh, that's who did it. That's the reason why is the HD videos come on nights where there's only one game on because I can just use the computer to get it. But during the regular season, speed plus just accessibility is the answer for that. Sorry, go ahead.
So you tweet about Bol Bol a lot. Do you have like a Mount Rushmore of unorthodox, sort of obscure players that?
I wouldn't say the question is about Bol Bol. I don't know how I ended up in a Bol Bol conversation here in Salt Lake City, but he's a unicorn, isn't he? He's majestic to watch. I mean, he can do a simple Euro step the other night and just bring the ball over, and the players like watching he just did a simple, I don't even know, it's not a rip through, but he was doing a Euro step and bringing the ball over a Toronto Raptors head, and the players just looking up at it because he knows I have no chance in getting up there. So he just falls into that category of what I consider like an all-wob team, just guys that are unique and different. Well, yeah, like Bol Bol, someone like J.R. Smith back in the day, or Dion Waiters. I love irrational confidence. Jordan Clarkson might make second team all-wob. Yeah, Lance Stevenson's a good one. JaVale McGee, DeMarcus Cousins. There's some candidates out there. I like personalities. I like microwave scorers and you're on a heater type of, and very memeable players. Nick Young would be a good. That's a name I haven't heard in some time, but yeah, he falls in that category. Just Boban too, just kind of appointment League Pass television.
Along that vein, as a Knicks fan, so like as a Jazz fan, I can think of random players that are like certified Jazz killers who go off on the Jazz. Like
Jalen Brunson.
Brunson, but even like Sam Cassell, certified Jazz killer. Linus Kleza gave us 30 like 3 times. Nobody knows who that is. But who's the most obscure but biggest Knick? Like Jordan.
Well, Jordan, yeah.
But it can't be Jordan. It's got
Reggie.
It's even Reggie's Hall of Fame, like non-Hall of Fame level. And Austin.
How much time you got? I mean,
I guess that's true with the Knicks. It's everyone.
there were 6 players last year that set their career highs in the Garden just in one season alone. So that's also the mystique of the Garden too, is you get everyone's best effort because it's a theater of basketball. You guys have something great here with your home, but MSG is a museum. All right, it just has history with college at all levels, New York City championships and things like that. You get everyone's Game 7 effort, and as a result, you get a lot of people busting the Knicks' ass. Yeah.
You can go back to the off season when you pulled the trigger on that Donovan Mitchell trade, the rumor with the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
You do it?
Oh, would I do it if I was the Knicks? No, I would have done it. Danny wanted Quentin Grimes, and that was our version of back in the day when Carmelo Anthony was getting traded to the Knicks. The holdup was Mozgov, believe it or not. Eventually, Mozgov got traded, but he had a really good season that year, and he was the reason as to why. Hey, I like. Hey.
You guys took over my private place.
those of you on the internet, thank you for sticking around. We're going to be joined here by the man himself, Danny Ainge, who was Danny. I was telling the story. I was telling the story, Danny, about how you had to have wasted 10 minutes of your life telling. I'm going to take credit for it, by the way. I was like, you know what? If you could get a first for Malik Beasley, I'd be pretty damn thrilled if I was a Jazz fan. And guess what happened? I was right. Did you take my advice and go get?
I did not take it. Don't take credit for that.
Well, we'll let him get hooked up here for a second. We have comments here, by the way. So if you want to say something to the internet, or Ryan was over here telling me all of the disses while I was trying to carry the shows. That's, if you would like to do that, that's also.
No, I don't care about
so,
it.
okay,
Anyway.
all right.
I don't follow much on the internet.
No,
so.
keep it that way. That's why you're a happy man.
Yeah.
All right. Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything.
What the hell are you up to? What are you doing? What's your plan?
I'm going on a cruise.
Oh.
This week, yeah, going to some sunshine.
Not sticking around for the festivities.
Definitely not. I've been to enough All-Star
Oh, you've been to a couple.
festivities. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my question was more so, what are you up to, like, with the franchise? Not, I'm happy to hear about your personal life.
Yeah, I figured that's what you're up to. That's why I didn't answer. But,
no, you got to be happy though with where you're at. I would think, right? Kind of. No, that face is scaring me.
No, it's been a fun year. Yeah, I mean, like, this is the hardest part now. It's always easier to go backwards than it is to go forward. You know, getting to become a 50-win team is a hard jump to make, and that's our next step.
Well, you've been around the game a really long time, and I was having the conversation with Ryan before. I was referring to like Steph, Giannis, LeBron, KD as like A-list superstars that just aren't. This was a different conversation, but not currently present in Utah. We all know the goal is to win a championship. That's obvious. You know, in the Tech example that Ryan used, he's like, I don't want to think like Tech. What's your 5-year plan? What's your 3-year plan? We're not looking for that, but you have to have
that's
some.
kind of annoying, actually. I mean, don't you wish you all had a 5-year plan, or you had
I wish I knew what could happen in 5 years. Yeah. But you know, the Jazz fans that are here and that are watching now, you know, what could you tell them about your vision for the team in the near immediate future?
Well, I mean, all I know is my personal experience being around the game for 44 years, and you just don't know what's going to happen, but you want to put yourself in position to make a big deal, to be involved in the conversation about turning your team around on a quicker basis. You know, the Jazz had done that when they acquired Mike Conley and made some other deals, and the team, they put themselves in a good position. But when Ryan bought the team, there really was no draft picks and no cash. I mean, we were over the cap and over the tax, and so it wasn't much fun last summer with no draft picks, sitting in the draft room, and no money to go out and sign some free agents. And so this summer should be a little more fun.
Answered my question. Do we have any?
But we don't know. Like, I mean, it's like you can't force it. Like, you can't make it happen faster than it's available. But we're in position to make a big deal. We're in position to hopefully get the draft right. That's important.
Do you mind? Could we turn his audio up a little bit? Some people are. It's just on the other side.
It's hidings.
It's probably under your neck.
Maybe if I talk louder.
There, we're just gonna stick it on this side so while you're looking at him.
See, the chat's good for something. I shouldn't have said that. Okay, that should be hopefully a little bit better, guys. Sorry about that. Those of you still watching us. Yeah, it does sound like we are a little bit better. Cool. All right. Where were we? What's it? Oh, I have another question for you. What's it like to pull off one of, just from a personal standpoint, not even a business standpoint, when you're part of a blockbuster deal? I mean, you had 2 of them over the summer. I wouldn't consider the trade deadline deal to be a blockbuster, but you know, it involved a name, and first round pick carries a lot of equity. When you're sitting there, do you just have a feeling? Do you have a plan? Are you scared to pick up the phone from a certain other general manager? Like, I'm just curious what's the human part of making these deals that have massive implications for people, fans, millions of dollars are at stake. And
Are you trying to, like, I don't even think about that stuff. I
Oh,
don't care.
Well, that's the answer then.
That's like playing basketball and you're afraid to take a shot, you know, like, no, you got to shoot it. And it's the same thing. We got to take all the calls, we got to have the conversations and evaluate where we are as a team. And it's not always easy, but I enjoy that part of it. It's fun. It's not always fun being in a trade, I have to say. I mean, I was maybe a little more attached to Donovan Mitchell than someone coming in, just because I'd watched him play since he was 16 years old back east. Wasn't something that was fun. There's some trades that are fun, and there's some results that you really like, but not that you're fun. It's fun trading them, but the process of trading is fun. I mean, it's not like, get rid of that guy.
Let me tell you.
I mean, there's a guy every now and then. There's a guy every now and then that it's kind of fun to get rid of. But those are more rare. But the process of going through and try to figure out what's best to build a team there's a lot of fun and a lot of involvement with everybody in the organization.
And the reason why I brought that up is because when we first spoke over Zoom, one of the things you told me was you value your relationship with these players above business and everything. And part of what that entails is not leaking rumors to the media. You know, you told me, like, that's the one thing, if you hear a rumor from the Jazz, it's probably not true, because that is just something that you don't do. And it's for a multitude of reasons. Now, there may be business strategies behind it as well, but I asked you that because you're moving families across the country.
Right.
You know, I do a show with Rasheed Wallace, and he was one of the very few people in the NBA that was a part of a trade in which you actually go to the city. He played one game in Atlanta, and then he got traded to Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
And I go, what happened to your family? Were you in the process of, like, moving them to Atlanta? And you, as a general manager and an executive, are responsible for these real-life decisions which impact the players, the fans, and all of the above. So when I asked, like, when you pick up the phone, like, what's running through your mind? Are you incorporating things like that? Like that they're
I mean, not as much.
here?
I mean, I think of those before we ever get started in the process, and I'm aware of the families and the situations of each individual. I mean, I was a player that played 8 years in Boston, very fortunate, and was traded cross-country Sacramento, had 4 little kids at home and school in Boston, and I lived in a residence inn for 6 or 8 weeks till the season was over, and it's fine. Like, the off-season, school gets out, you sell your house, and you move to the next city. You know, I don't have a great deal of sympathy for everybody, but there are circumstances that are challenging. And but more than anything, it really is about relationships. And I do feel like I've had great relationships with most every player that I've come across in my NBA career. And so it's never, you know, fun. I mean, like I said, there's always a guy here. I'm not going to mention any of those names, but that's really rare. The relationships of guys that I've traded, I've maintained a lot of them. I mean, some guys are probably still salty about being traded, feel like I did something to them that was wrong, and I understand it if that's how they want to feel. But
well, it's refreshing to hear that answer, because if you pitch them like, we're a family here, like, you wouldn't trade away family, but if you're upfront about this as a business, anybody can technically get traded unless there is a stipulation in the collective bargaining agreement which prevents you from being traded. If you're upfront with them like that and you handle your business in that you keep everything in-house, it sounds like that there's not a lot of animosity other than the fact that they got traded. Not towards you personally, because ultimately you are employed by the Jazz franchise, not the players themselves. You're not their agent, right? So you're doing what's best for the team. And just saying the quiet part out loud needs to be said, because that's forgotten at times.
Listen, I'm too old and I've been in this business too long not to tell them the truth. I was a player, I was a coach. Like, telling them the truth, I think, is important. Having hard conversations with players, I think, is critical. And players can handle the truth, and they prefer the truth. I always want to be the first one to tell them that they've been traded. I don't want them hearing it on the internet. That's why I don't talk to and leak things to the media. I want to be the first one to tell them to their face, hopefully, but sometimes you have to do it over the phone if they're traveling. But I think that players like the truth, and they respect the truth, as hard as it sometimes is. And I tell players all the time, where have you been? I haven't seen you for a week, DA. What's going on? I'm out looking for players better than you. That's my job. And, most of them will say something like, well, good luck with that, or, they kind of look at me in a different way. But that's my job. I got to find players better than you. And so we say it, we joke about it, but we have fun with it. But
it's the truth.
It's the truth.
So can you take me through what it is like to pull off one of these trades? I already asked you about the emotions behind it, and you don't need to get specific, but these deals that you have made, dating back to Boston with the KG Paul Pierce trade, you're dealing with upwards of 5, 6, 7 years worth of picks, multiple players. What is a bargaining strategy, negotiation tactic that you can share without giving away the secret sauce? Because these phone calls, I imagine, is, hey, let's hop on the trade machine. What do you or like the movies with draft day? I don't imagine that's real life. Is it sometimes quick, or does it take weeks? Does it take multiple calls? Are you up at 3 a.m. because someone had an idea?
Yeah, I would say yes to all of those, answer those questions individually that you just asked, like the 5 questions you just asked in one sentence. I would just say yes, 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 yes. But yeah, sometimes we're up at 3, sometimes they take 3 weeks, sometimes they take 3 months, sometimes it takes a conversation and then the next year that conversation starts again. So you just don't know when they're going to work. Sometimes it starts a day and you do it in that day. I think that it's just unpredictable, but you have to stay ready. We're talking about trades and thinking about trades and free agency and draft at all times. That's the main part of our job. One reason I like being here right now is, I don't really have to crisis manage the organization. In Boston, I was the president GM, and, like someone doesn't make an airplane, or, airplane doesn't show up. Like, you're just managing crisis. You got an agent who's upset with his player's playing time. You're just managing these types of issues and all your employees, for the first 6 hours of every day. And thank goodness I'm not doing that now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much focused on basketball and what I enjoy and what I've been better at.
So if I'm the general manager of the Knicks or something, why would I pick up your phone call? Because your reputation of fleecing me, the Knicks, or the Knicks have a long history of giving away a little bit more than they should, and knowing all of these deals that you have now pulled off between Gobert, which may go down, it's a long way until we can sign off on that trade. But I think a lot of Jazz fans, I'll say the quiet part out loud here, I think a lot of Jazz fans are pleased with that deal and the return that you got. You set the market on that. So between him, Donovan, and the trade deadline, and dating back to even the Boston days, I feel like any time that I negotiate with you, I'm going to come out the loser now. Do you have to defend yourself against that?
I don't see it that way. I think that
does every GM think like that? Like
I don't think so. I think that like I get a kick out of this. There was somebody brought me some information. Maybe it was one of my boys told me that, oh yeah, they're saying that nobody will pick up your phone call. And how are you gonna get any? First of all, I don't even make the phone calls. Justin pretty much makes all the phone calls to the other teams. But or that another thing was say like we're asking for way too much. Well, like that's every transaction. Like you're either asking for too much or not enough. I don't ever think when I call somebody and ask them for a player that they're asking for too much. That's just the deal. Like that's the deal. That's their right to ask for whatever they want. But I think it was asked for, rumored about us this year that we were asking for 2 first-round picks for him and him and him and him. And it's like, it's just ridiculous. The internet. But the trades that we made.
I thought you weren't on the internet.
Yeah, no, I hear it from my kids mostly, or from others like in the office. But I think that the reputation of the good trades that happen, you got to be lucky. You got to have some luck in this business.
3 times you were lucky?
No, 3 out of a bunch of them.
The 3 big blockbusters?
No, I don't think they're all luck in all of those situations, but you need some luck to have them work out. I mean, when we in Boston, when we traded the number 1 pick to get Jason Tatum, I mean, you don't know for sure. I mean, like, we gave away the number 1 pick, and we thought we were going to take Jason Tatum with the number 1 anyway, so we ended up getting our guy. But, I mean, Jason's turned out to be a fantastic player, but you got to have some luck. When we traded KG and Paul away from Boston for the draft picks from Brooklyn, we thought Brooklyn was going to be really good. They had Darren Williams and Brooke Lopez and Joe Johnson, and they were adding these veterans, KG and Paul, who still had basketball left in them, albeit they weren't the same, Hall of Fame players they'd been. But that team looked to us like they're going to, those are going to be picks in the 20s, not picks 3 and 3. So, like, we were very fortunate. Like, that just happened. That's just good luck.
Is it
and then we got lucky by, making the right picks.
Is it safe to say that you have the same vision here with the Jazz as you did? You brought up Jason Tatum, and I'm old enough to remember when every other tweet on my timeline was someone cracking a joke about Danny Ainge holding on to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and not trading for Anthony Davis when he was forcing his way out of New Orleans. And then your face is being memed everywhere. They're putting you on Lord of the Rings, the Gollum guy that's like, my precious picks and my precious young players. And guess what ended up happening? Jaylen and Jason Tatum are superstars that are cornerstones, locked up long term. And I want to say, I guess you were right in not making that deal because of they haven't won a championship yet, but they're in a place to succeed for a really long time.
There never even was that deal. Like that's the other thing. Like you're assuming that there was a deal like that. There was no deal like that.
So Twitter was lying to me?
I mean, there might have been one truth in that era. Yes, I'm saying that wasn't true. And second of all, like there was a situation where I could have given away both of those picks to get Jimmy Butler. Okay, and so like that criticism is fair, like you're hoarding your picks to get rid of Jimmy Butler. I just thought it was too rich at the time, and thank goodness we were lucky and we turned out to be Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So, yeah, that Anthony Davis, no. Jimmy Butler, yeah, that was fair criticism. But like, you never know how those are going to work out. Jimmy was really good, and we liked him and we wanted him. And I was still mad I didn't draft Jimmy Butler.
Who took him in? Obviously, Chicago took him in front of you. How far up at the draft were they?
He was like 28 or 30-ish, but we drafted Juwan Johnson out of Michigan or out of Purdue, who was, Jimmy was a repeat of so many positional players we had, which is wings. We were loaded at the wings, and we needed a freak. We needed someone who could touch the top of the backboard. And we got Juwan Johnson, Big Ten Player of the Year, but he just, he didn't turn out to be as good a player as Jimmy Butler, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't expecting to get my answer that bluntly, but thank you for being so upfront. There's squash all of the AD for Jaylen and Jason.
You guys, there's so much on the internet that's not true. In case you didn't know. Yeah, so don't just accept it as fact just because I haven't refuted it all these years. Like that trade was never talked about, never discussed. Or, like let's, just to clarify, there's oftentimes someone will call and say, will you trade such and such for such and such? And I'll say no, and that's it. And 2 months later, there's a rumor that they turned down this or that that's embellished. So there's a phone call was made, but it wasn't the exact report that's being said. So there may be a tiny bit of truth. But anyway, that one wasn't true.
Don't lie. Have you ever looked at the internet and gotten a trade idea from someone on the internet? You're like, that's actually a good idea.
I never have, no. But I know that the people that I work with come up with ideas all the time. We charge them to give us ideas regularly. And so I'm sure they find something on the internet. But I do get them from grandkids and kids, yeah.
For those precious third-round picks.
I mean, I have a grandson who just turned 17, and like he has called me on draft day, going like, "What in the world are you doing?" And has given me ideas, and my boys give me ideas all the time. So, yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you here all day. So if you need to go, you let us know. Otherwise, I may open it up to the floor and let these locusts feed.
Well, I have a really busy day, so.
Oh yeah. What time's the boat leave?
I gotta turn on and watch Tiger and Rory play some golf today.
Okay.
Yeah.
That too. Well,
So they got about 15 minutes.
before we take questions, I promise chat as well. If you guys are still here hanging out, we'll take one from the internet as well. Things that he can't answer. Let's get this out of the way. Why certain trades happened. Think of before you ask your question. Can Danny actually?
I'm a big
answer
boy.
this?
Ask me anything you want.
I
And
know,
if I can't answer, I'll just say no. I'm not answering.
Right, but if you're talking about things like specific players being involved, he's going to have to give an answer, and I won't let him get in trouble either because I don't want you getting aggravated. What's about to happen now is how the internet happens. They will take the one sentence in which you say the words Malik Beasley, like first rounder, and then you'll see a headline that's Danny Ainge says this about Malik Beasley. That's the way the internet works.
I love
I'm trying
Malik
to prevent
Beasley.
you from that. He was on my plane. On the
I
way
love
up.
I love Malik Beasley.
He
was
looked
good.
like he was having a
good.
great time
Yeah, hopefully
at
he'll have a good-
5:45 in the morning. So with that all said, let's start with some questions.
What do you think is more difficult or important? Picking the right player in the draft and all the scouting work done up until then, or finding a player like with Markkinen this year where you think if we bring him into our situation, we can get way more, like he can develop way more than he has in prior situations. Which is more difficult and important for the organization as you do this rebuild?
I think they're both equally important whenever you're evaluating players through trade or draft. But I think that the younger the players are, the more difficult it is. So I would say the draft is hard. Not always hard. There's some more clear-cut draft picks that you just like really have a great feeling about. But yeah, oftentimes it's very difficult. There's a lot of mistakes made in the draft.
Go here. We'll just go across.
Most of the questions have been about like GM Danny, but some of us are in here old enough to remember when you played. Yeah. So I got one. The infamous inbound pass where you dinged one off Mario Ellie. So what was that an accident or like what happened there?
That was an embarrassing moment for me. It was a bad play. It was intentional, and I've repented. And I'm not proud of that moment. But yeah, that was a bad moment.
Have you talked to him since then?
I did talk to him once or twice since then. I mean, I have a great deal of respect for Mario. He was a great player.
Good. All right. Before we do have the internet asking about, you can only comment at length about this, but they're curious about what the future looks like for Russell Westbrook. Do you imagine here as a part of the Jazz franchise? Do you see him playing games?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. We're in communication with him and his agent, and we've had a couple of great conversations with them, but we're not sure.
Okay. Sol. Sorry, I said I'd come here next.
So it didn't cross your mind at the time, I'm sure, but summer of 2017 when you were with the Celtics and you were recruiting Hayward as a free agent, did you know the pain that you would Jazz fans at the time? I know that didn't cross your mind, but
That crossed my mind. I was actually in the parking lot of Riverside Country Club down in Provo waiting for the phone call from Gordon, ready to go tee off.
you were at Summer League as well.
Yeah.
So you were all down on the front row. I have a video of me yelling, "How could you, Danny?"
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm not sure people know how hard of a choice that was for Gordon at the time. I think that he wasn't trying to get out of Utah at the time. I think that he was recruited very heavily by Miami and Boston, were the two choices that he and Utah were the last three teams that one of them he was going to go play for. But he loved playing in Utah, and I know that was a really hard thing for him, but Boston and Miami had convinced him that winning there would be more possible than winning here with what they had. And I think that ultimately that was what got him to come to Boston. We were very fortunate to get Gordon at the time. It didn't work out with his health and challenges since then, but that was a big moment for the Celtics because we were a little bit like Utah and in Boston. Like, we couldn't get free agents. We had never had free agents. Now since then we had Horford, then Hayward, Isaiah. Kyrie in some ways came as a free agent because we needed him to extend a contract. But I mean, the team has turned that corner, and now free agents will come there. We hope to do that same thing with Utah at some point, be able to recruit some free agents.
Big CBA coming up. Just kind of open-ended question. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I'm fascinated to hear. I mean, I don't know a lot more than you guys know. I know that some of the discussion points, I have no idea how it's going to end up. You know, whenever you're doing a player, I mean, I've been a players union rep. I've been on the coaches union, and I've been on a governor's seat that I am now. So I think that I've seen all sides of the negotiation. I'm fascinated to see how it works out. I really don't know. But I think it'll get resolved, and, you know, hopefully there's not a labor dispute. And I'm not, you know, obviously that's one I probably should not be talking about.
Please don't. That was in bold.
Yeah,
Do not ask about.
Yeah, labor disputes, but like I'm confident we'll get something worked out.
Good. Go ahead. Yep.
So how do you know, well, this may be a hard question, but know when the right time to make a trade is, right? Like, so this summer it worked out great trading at that time, but how do you balance that of, is now the time to make that trade, or do we try with this player or team again? How do you balance that in the decision?
Use the Markkanen example. I mean, the guy's been on, 3 different teams in the last 3 years? How did you know Markkanen was going to work out?
Well, obviously you don't know, but we liked Markkanen. He was having a fantastic summer playing overseas in Europe, so we had a little bit more than just his NBA career. We just liked him. You know, 7 feet guys that can shoot are hard to find in our business. And but I'm not sure there is a way to know for sure, but it's just your team and circumstance, and, you know, like all the different factors of your roster makeup. I think that, but there have been times, I mean, like we couldn't have done the KG and Ray trade, had we done a trade at the trade deadline the year before that we were talking about doing, that we didn't get done. You know, and then because we didn't do that deal, like we were still in a position to do a bigger deal in the summertime. So it's a tough question. You know, sometimes Red Auerbach used to say, the best trades I ever made were the ones I didn't complete. So, yeah, you shouldn't feel pressure to have to do trades. That's a bad place to be in.
Come back, go up there.
So you've been around the game a long time. What do you think is the biggest difference between the NBA now and the NBA when you were a player?
Well, I think that I would say the biggest frustration that I've had has been, I mean, the game has changed. Obviously, the three-point line has just evolved, you know, much bigger than it was in the 80s. I don't love that, actually. I don't love how it's just such a dominant three-point game. But there's a lot of good that's happened as a result of that, too. Especially when I watch games from the 1980s here and there. It's like, man, that paint is congested. Those guys are huge in that paint. You have to shoot everything from 15 to 25 feet.
Wait, can I ask you, why don't you like the three-point game that has evolved into 2023 NBA?
I just don't. I love some combination of it. I mean, I like the three-point line. I just wish that it wasn't 40 or 50 three-point shots. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be doing that. I'm just saying that it's not as. Maybe I'm
aesthetically,
old.
No, I'm old too.
Yeah.
I'm
You're really old.
Yeah, well, thank you. I love 90s basketball. I like the clogged paint. I love decking someone that's going for an open layup and putting them at the free throw line. Scores that finish 75 to 74. Heat Knicks, Bulls Knicks, you know, those days. I enjoy that more than ticky-tack fouls, and we're shooting 53s, 50 free throws. I'm there with you, but I was just, I guess, curious as to, am I one of those, I just don't like watching dudes chuck threes all night? I guess I am, kind of. And it's a product of when you also start watching the NBA, because if you started in post-2010, that's all you're really accustomed to, the same way in the 90s. I was only accustomed to that style of play, and now that it's not the case anymore, I guess that's why I miss it, but...
Right. I mean, it took us a while. Like, so 81, I think, was the first year of the three-point line. Or was it 80? 80 or 81?
In the neighborhood.
Yeah, and so I think it was 87. Like I broke the record. I think Darrell Griffith from Utah and Bird had like made 90, and it was the most in a season. And then that year, I think I made 148 by the All-Star break. No. I'd broken the 90, but I ended up making 148 on the season. And then I think the next season someone shot 200, and then it was 220, and then 250, and all the way up to 400 by Curry and Thompson, those guys. But yeah, I just don't like the amount. Like I like the ability to have a 3-point shot at the end of a game, to win a game, and I think it's fun. But I'm not sure anybody envisioned that there would be like 50 3-point shots taken in a game. So I just think it's a lot, and I've gotten over it. I'm fine. I love the game. I love the game today, but I do like Patrick Ewing and Olajuwon and Lonzo Mourning and Shaq, and I like the big men and that part of the game, and it's
a lot of mid-range you just listed.
Yeah, I mean a lot of guys inside the paint, no doubt.
Mid-range maestros are an endangered species in today's game, and best team in the West right now, or people think sitting at the end of the first row here, they got 3 of them.
Phoenix, yeah.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, CP3. If they're going to win a championship, it's probably going to be from the mid-range. So maybe it's not.
Yeah, those guys are great shooters. Those guys are great shooters.
But regarding the 53s thing, I'll say it just because I'm friendly with him. But thanks, Darryl. I mean, Maury Ball is a big.
I mean, it was evolving. I'm not giving him credit for that. Are you kidding me? I mean, as a matter of fact, like I think they overdid it, right? I think
you're telling me 55 threes in a game 7 is too many?
No, I think that like 25 in a row misses is too many. But I think also like 2% of your shot in mid-range is like you got to be able to make mid-range shots. I mean, most game winners are won in the mid-range. So I don't know what the ideal number. Phoenix has a chance to be a great team this year, and they'll probably shoot 25% of their shots in the mid-range, which is, I think that Houston was shooting 2%. I actually saw James Harden shoot 2 mid-range shots in a game last week. Like he never shot those in Houston.
Frame it, NFT it, do whatever. It just happens,
Yeah.
There's a question here in the comments section. Can you guys hear all right? Give a thumbs up if you're still hearing us okay. Stream's coming through. That'd be great. You're watching it?
No, I can hear that.
Oh, okay. Oh, I hope you can. Somebody asked about the day-to-day of being Danny Ainge. Like, what do you do all day?
I watch a lot of basketball.
Okay, that's a good place to start.
the good thing about this time of my life is I actually get to go watch my grandson play as a championship game tonight. We'll be at the BYU basketball game tonight. So I get to do a little bit more than just work basketball, but actually fun basketball.
Cool. Okay. Hopefully that suffices there. Whoever.
Lots of golf is my goal. Haven't really been in there last month. It's been awful cold, but yeah, more golf, and lots of basketball. That's
Beautiful.
my life.
Take a couple more. Go ahead.
What was it that made you want to come to Utah? Was it just your ties to BYU, or was it something else?
Yeah, I love BYU sports. I mean, I love going to volleyball games, women's soccer games. I like to follow all the sports, actually. So that's why I live down by the campus. And I still expect to do some of that, but obviously this job has taken away some of those opportunities. But I have a lot of friends in the area, and I now have 3 of my 6 kids living here. I hope to have 4 soon. So all those reasons. But I do have a lot of friends. And what you realize when you move down here is let's say I have like 6 really close friends that live here. You realize that those 6 like turned about 18 or 30, like just the friends of your friends. But yeah, Riverside Country Club is where I grew up playing golf in college, and I'd come back once or twice a year to play. And yeah, I have a lot of friends down there.
Maybe this is a question that you can tell me if this is something that you're not supposed to
I'll be the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please stop me if I go too far. But if there was no one in the NBA who's untouchable, with the Jazz timeline, who would you go after? Who's a current player that you think would just really fit the mold?
Who would you go after?
Well, the untouchable question has been answered because Kevin Durant got traded.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get any more untouchable than that, right?
I think like
So-
timeline with what we're looking at.
seems like the Thunder are doing really well with SGA. I think he's great. I think he fits the team well. Fits the mold.
Oh, we'd all love to have SGA on our team, wouldn't we?
For sure. But I think like timeline, I mean, he'd be a stud. And just kind of fit the idea of what, I mean, I don't know exactly what you guys are thinking with the Jazz.
Well, who are you saying?
Who would you go after?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
SGA.
SGA, okay. Yeah, what about you? Who would you go after?
I pick Luka Doncic.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's really good. Who would you go? What about you? Huh?
Trade up for Victor.
Oh, first round pick in the draft. Good luck with that one. What about you?
Is there? Oh, wait. Before he answers, is there a price that anyone will sell the #1 pick for? Do you think? No.
I think that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Who would you pick?
Dorian Finney-Smith.
Dorian Finney-Smith. Oh.
Hateable, but
Best contract in the NBA, I would think, for value.
I'm realistic.
Yeah, I like all those guys. Yeah, it'd be fun.
You know how to work a room, don't you?
Yeah, any one of them would be good. Yeah. Who? Josh Giddey. Okay. Yeah. What do you do for a living?
Have you changed your mind about Danny Ainge, by the way?
Danny, I have something sad to tell you.
Okay.
My Twitter handle has been Danny Ainge hater because you traded away Rudy Gobert. I'm a bit bitter still.
Okay.
But
That's fair enough.
I like what we've got with Laurie.
I love the fact that you're that passionate about your players. I like that. Yeah. We've had lots of people like you in counseling around here. But you could come in for counseling at any time. Okay? Okay.
They're a lot nicer in person than they are from behind a keyboard, aren't they?
I don't know.
We're not on the internet.
That's a compliment. Whatever.
Yeah. Go ahead. We'll go here, then we'll go here, and we'll have Danny on as well.
So Rob, you mentioned earlier, like everyone feels like they're an armrest GM with the trade machine, and it almost feels like trading basketball cards at some point. It gets pretty simplistic. So I'm curious if, in your experience, how direct are the trade requests when they come in calls, or how much is it more of just an evolution of talks over time when deals come together?
I think there's both. I mean, there's generalities talked and shared, and ideas, concepts, and then there's direct 1-for-1, 2-for-1, draft picks for 2. You know, like it's all of the above. I'm not sure there's one way that's more than other, but every personality is different too. Like some people are just more direct, and they don't want to small talk for half an hour. They just want to know, will you trade this player for this pick? No, thank you. And then
Have you ever agreed to one, like, on the call? I'm
no,
curious how that works.
I wouldn't say that I have. I think obviously everybody would take time to think things through. But there's been some phone calls I've gotten that, you know, like I got excited about the phone call, and other ones I go, probably not, but let me think about it and get back to you.
Were you excited about the Gobert trade? The call?
No, I mean that was a long process. That was we spent a couple of months. I mean it's never fun trading away a very good player. That's hard to find, but I think that was a deal that was unanimous internally, and everybody was excited about the change and, you know, where we were going as a franchise. I mean, yeah, I don't want to really get into much more of it than that, but there's all sorts of reasons, and, you know, the contracts that players have is sometimes a reason.
Close us out.
All right, so you've obviously had success at every phase of the NBA, and so in today's NBA, what do you think is the ideal championship team? Like, not players, but maybe just personnel or size, shooting. What do you think makes up?
Yeah, I would say size, shooting, and really talented. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good, you came up with some good ones there. Some toughness I'd like to add in there, self-motivated. I mean, we hear all the buzzwords, but like talent wins. Yeah. And, you know, coaching plays an important part in that. A coach's job is to, you know, get the most out of each player. And that's a really hard job. Coaching, like you said, I've done all of those jobs, and coaching is by far the hardest. Playing is by far the most fun, of course. But, you know, getting a player that fits with a coach, that fits with his teammates, that it's willing to sacrifice. I mean, I hear some things about teams being built. An example would be, oh, we have these 2 star players. We need players that are willing to give the ball up and, you know, just, you know, shoot open shots and play great defense. And I understand the concept, but my idea is to get really good players that have to make some sacrifices. So an example would be KG, Paul, and Ray in Boston. They were averaging 24, 25 points a game on lottery teams the year before they joined each other. And they join each other and they average 17 or 18 points a game and they win a championship. I think that you can do that. You take a look at the old Celtics teams, the old Lakers teams. They had players that, like Byron Scott and James Worthy, were way more capable of playing great basketball than they actually had a chance with Kareem and Magic. But Byron was one of the best defenders on the team and sacrificed, but if he were playing on some teams, he'd probably average 30 points a game. That's ideal. Like, you have really good players that make those sacrifices to win. You don't just need to fill in a piece of a guy that can't dribble, that's not a great decision maker, can't run a pick and roll. Ideally, you have 5 guys out there that can make good decisions with the ball.
I think that's a good place. The chat is letting you know that Tiger Woods is teeing off.
Oh,
right now.
nice.
So
okay.
we'll let you get off to go watch
Okay.
some golf before
All right.
tonight. But thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
That was awesome. Appreciate you taking the time.
What do I have
to
to follow you? Follow you
no, don't worry. Yeah, you don't want to do that. No. Okay. We'll link up.
Okay.
Thanks again, Danny. Appreciate it. Give it up one more time, Danny Ainge. I think that's the end of my my program. I didn't expect Danny to actually show up, but he did. So, yeah, good. Hopefully it was worth coming through today. But I find this is a good place to at least kill the stream. I'll be hanging around for a little bit. I know some of you got to get back to your lives, but I'm here for a minute. Let these fine people go back to their jobs. They've been sitting in. How'd we do? Good. Is the stream alive? Kicking? People watching? Yeah, they're here. They're hanging out. They're not nearly as feisty during the day as they are. Yeah. Chat, if you're watching this, thanks for joining us. Maybe we'll do a show at some point this weekend, but that's it for this live program. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. See you on the